Bonsoir. Good evening. Um, because it's a dark and stormy kind of time, this may be a dark and stormy video. I'm giving you another video in grammar. The thing I will say about grammar is that the only way out is through. You won't progress in your French unless you're willing to take on the difficult task of memorizing grammatical rules and practicing them until they become something like a second nature, and it is uh, easy enough to use the language. Um, this is more doable than it sounds on the outside. You did it in your native language without any real sense of the effort you were putting in most of the time. I'm asking you to do the same here. This video is called Les verbes irréguliers et leur participe passé. We are working on the passé composé still. Nous avons étudié le passé composé pour les verbes réguliers. We worked on the passé composé for regular verbs, and this is a little bit of a review of what was in a previous video. Je danse, in the present tense, devient, becomes, j'ai dansé. Nous choisissons, devient, nous avons choisi. Ils vendent, devient, ils ont vendu. This is essentially what we worked on in the previous video. The rules continue to apply, but just as present tense verbs that are irregular have different constructions than present tense verbs that are regular, likewise the irregular verbs have some different constructions. Maintenant, nous apprenons le passé composé avec les verbes irréguliers. Yes, I said irregular verbs have different constructions. What I should have said was irregular verbs have different constructions in the passé composé. Here they are in part, the ones that we have focused on. There are other irregular verbs that go beyond the ones that we are looking at tonight in this particular video. But this will give you a start on on expanding what you already know, and as you learn new verbs, you will be able to navigate their past participles. Les verbes irréguliers au passé composé. Here's the first one, the first verb you learned in French with me, at least. I think probably the first one you learned, period. Être, to be. And the past participle is été. So here are a couple of examples. I'm going to do this with all these irregular verbs with separate examples. Ils ont été professeurs, mais maintenant ils sont commentateurs à la télévision. They've been professors. They were at a time professors, but now they are television commentators. La robe qu'elle porte n'est pas belle maintenant, mais il y a 10 ans, elle a été d'une beauté exquise. The dress that she is wearing is not beautiful now, but 10 years ago it was of an exquisite beauty. Elle a été. Ils ont été. Here we have avoir, to have, and the past participle is eu. So, puisque vous n'avez pas eu de cigarette, vous n'avez pas fumé. Because you didn't have cigarettes, and remember that we say je n'ai pas de cigarette. I don't say je n'ai pas des cigarettes. I say je n'ai pas de cigarettes. I would say it in the passé composé quite similarly. Vous n'avez pas eu de cigarette. You didn't have cigarettes. Vous n'avez pas fumé. You didn't smoke. Nous n'avons pas eu de vacances depuis l'année dernière. We haven't had any vacation since last year. The verb pouvoir, to be able to. The past tense, the past participle rather, is pu. Je n'ai pas pu contacter ma tante qui voyage en Mexique. I have not been able to contact my aunt who is traveling in Mexico. As-tu pu calculer la somme finale? Have you been able to calculate the final sum, like the total? Vouloir, to want, or to want to. The past tense, the past participle rather, is voulu. Elle a voulu embrasser Brad Pitt. She wanted to kiss Brad Pitt. Les enfants n'ont pas voulu aller au cinéma. Ils ont voulu aller au jardin public. The children didn't want to go to the movie theater. They wanted to go to the park. Devoir, what one must do. The past tense is dû. Quand tu as rencontré le chef, tu as dû dire bonjour de ma part. When you met the chief, the head of the company, whatever that is, the chief, you should have said hello from me. Nous n'avons pas dû acheter un camion. We shouldn't have bought a truck. Le prix a été trop cher. The price was too expensive. The verb voir, to see, the past tense is vu. Avez-vous vu le dernier film de Sorrentino? Avez-vous vu? Notice the difference between vous for you and vu in the past tense. Avez-vous vu le dernier film de Sorrentino? Have you seen the last film of Sorrentino? J'ai vu de la neige aux montagnes. I saw some snow on the mountains. Or in the mountains, I could say, for the previous slide. The past tense of the verb faire is fait. Remember, faire is to do or to make. Tu as fait tes devoirs avant la leçon. You did your homework before the lesson. Nous avons fait du ski en Suisse. We skied, we went skiing in Switzerland. Tenir, which is to hold. The past participle is tenu. Il a tenu le revolver dans sa poche le long du voyage. He held the revolver in his pocket the length of the trip. Nous avons tenu le billet gagnant du loto pendant une semaine avant de réclamer le Grand Prix. We held the winning lottery ticket for a week before claiming the grand prize. Il y a quelques verbes qui ont une conjugaison au présent qui ont des participes passés irréguliers. There are some verbs that have a conjugation in the present that are regular, but in the Past tense are irregular. En voici deux. Here are two. Les verbes irréguliers au passé composé, prendre, which means to take. The past tense is pris. Ce jour-là, nous avons pris l'avion pour Casablanca. That day, we have taken the plane to Casablanca. We took the plane to Casablanca. J'ai pris une douche avant de me coucher. I took a shower before going to bed. And apprendre, which has a very similar structure altogether, which means to learn, has the past participle appris. Tu as appris marcher avant d'apprendre la danse classique. You learned how to walk before learning the classical dance, or you could say ballet. Vous avez appris de la naissance de votre sœur avant l'annonce publique. You learned of the birth of your sister before the public announcement. La seule façon d'apprendre ces participes, c'est de les répéter et de les utiliser en parlant et en écrivant. The only way to learn these participles is to repeat them and to use them in speaking and in writing. Voici donc le devoir. Voici, here, donc. Donc is a word that's a little like thus in English. It's an emphatic word. And I can even say it in fairly informal ways that I wouldn't use thus. Like, let's say somebody were saying my name over and over again, and I might turn to them and say, quoi donc? Like, what is up? What's the matter, huh? Voici donc le devoir. Here, therefore, thus is the homework. This is your job. Translate these sentences. The dog wanted a steak, but he ate my homework. She has had a headache. Remember that we learned the idiomatic expression for headache, to have a headache, avoir mal à la tête. She has had a headache for 10 days without interruption. I took a train to New Delhi, but I could not find a hotel there. So I'm asking you to use two passe composé phrases in that one sentence. They have learned how to ice skate, but now they don't skate well. We didn't have any champagne, but we had 2 bottles of whiskey. He has not seen Paul for 3 weeks, but he has held his keys for him since then. That's plenty of homework. It's enough. It will give you a chance to practice, and we're going to spend some time going forward just practicing some of this grammar so that you can retain it as we move to the next phase. But right now, we're all in on the passé composé. There's another element of the passé composé which we're going to learn next, which is a manner of conjugating, I think it's about a dozen verbs that are conjugated with the verb être instead of avoir as the auxiliary verb. We're going to go over that, but for now, this is our project. You have plenty on your plate, so go to it. I am confident you will do well.